Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I'm your host, Dr. Nasir. What do we have on tap for you today, folks? Well, it's our continuing video clip series of the debate between Flavia Kleiner, who's a socialist, Marxist, Democrat leftist from Switzerland, and her opponent is Douglas Murray from the United Kingdom, conservative author. And this was a long debate. It was sponsored by the Forum on European Culture. And what we did is we broke it down into various segments. I believe this is part 8 of the debate. So let's get to debate between Flavia Kleiner of Switzerland and Douglas Murray of the United Kingdom. We're going to go to that video clip right now.
He raised whether you would reach an audience with this kind of initiatives. Could you tell us, you are from Zurich, but did you have the feeling that with your movement you really reached people who were supporting the Swiss People Party who are living much more on the countryside?
Yeah, I mean, after all, in a democracy, the majority wins. So for us, it was clear we don't need to try to convince the right-wing populists as a first audience. But what we surely managed was to convince, I would call, conservative middle ground, which is in many societies, that's the big chunk of people who vote this way, who think this way. And I think it's very fair to be conservative, that's not my problem. I just say I get a problem if you start to support, and that's what you do if you vote yes with the right-wing populist initiative, if you start to support their attacks on the liberal institutions. And we time and again made that case and challenged the views of the right-wing populists on this. And I think by making this, we strengthened again the understanding and the civic education about what is the importance of the individual rights, of separation of powers, just the points, that I think every citizen should understand about the system.
We're back at the institutions. We made a round trip. We were 1 hour on the way, so I would like to open up for questions from the audience, if there are any. Don't leave me hanging here. You came all the way to the Bali. Anyone?
Hello.
Otherwise, I'll just continue. Yeah, I see a hesitating question over there. Just dare to stand up? No, you don't dare anymore. Okay, and I'll just continue. Really sure?
I would like to come in with a question.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I think Douglas has a question, but we were also looking for questions from the audience, but no.
I agree.
Good. Then this was your chance. Then we go to Douglas with, I would suggest a final question to Flavia then, and then I'll come back to you.
Sure. I mean, one of the most important educational tools, I'm sure you know, to try to encourage young people to engage in democratic debate is for them to see that their opponents or their debaters are not evil people who deliberately wish to pursue wicked ideas, but are fellow citizens whose concerns need to be listened to and perhaps even acted upon. What I'm interested in is whether you see the conundrum that faces you when you describe people as right-wing populists. And again, I would quite like a definition of what you mean by populist, because it's a word that I don't use myself because I think it's too inexact to use. But what do you mean when you refer to these right-wing populists? And whether you can, as it were, be in a country with them where they would win, because your definition of right-wing populists would appear to, for instance, take in the majority of my country. You said you had no problem with conservatives, which one might dispute, but what would you do once you had described your opponents as right-wing populists, tried to make a binary in which you stand on the good side and the evil right-wing populists stand on the bad side? What would you do on those occasions when they are onto something? When, for instance, a sovereignty question is serious or a migration question is serious? How can you interact with them, having demonized them to the extent that you wish to do?
Flavia, do you feel that you're demonizing populists?
Not at all. I just said, and maybe you didn't hear it, Douglas, but I said in a democracy, the majority wins. And I'm very well aware that this is the rules. So by actually throwing myself into these battles, which I did on the very grounds of a democratic interaction, and I, worked with my own hands, I actually, accept that game, and I try to find the better arguments, the more convincing language, and I did. And so to your question, how I define right-wing populists, I, of course, would say that right-wing populists to me is people who claim for themselves that only they represent the true will of the people. And I can tell you in Switzerland, we had elections where the right-wing populists, the Swiss People's Party, had ads where it was written on real Swiss vote for the SVP, where I would say, well, I'm Swiss too, and I would never vote for your party. And that's to me the very case. I mean, I just want to say again, I totally respect that democracy, it's about the majority, and that's why I see, and that's also what I claimed in my speech, the responsibility lies in our very hands. I'm also just saying, well,
she says that. She says the majority lies, in the hands of the people. And that's true in a democracy. So, for example, when she said the rising populace, I think, Douglas, when he was asking her, like, what do you say if you're demonizing that? There's language on both sides. Like a lot of times when I introduced her, she's a socialist, Marxist, democratic, liberal, leftist. That's exactly what she is. If somebody wants to characterize who I am, or who the people are on the right side or whatever, if they want to call that I'm right wing, okay, I'm right wing. They want to call me conservative, or I'm conservative. Want to call me Republican, okay, I'm Republican. I basically say that I'm a conservative. I'm a pragmatist, but I will take issues with anybody out there that basically says that I'm just going to vote one way. Now, the thing is that I will vote in the way, and I will throw my support to a candidate who espouses policies and, laws and cultural views and political views that are akin to what I like. Of course, that's what everyone's going to do. And in order to make those views popular within people that I want to represent and people that are in my community and whatever, I'm going to try to make those views individual to individual, build them up at the community level, and try to get people to see it my way. Some people are going to say yes, some people are going to say no, some people are going to be indifferent. But I will always be wondering what is going to be the best for everybody involved at the individual level. Because that's going to flow, if you make it good for at the individual level, eventually it's going to follow through to the community level. And if we have to say that that's a leftist idea, a socialist idea, a Marxist idea, so be it. Just like Flavia here is saying, you know what, that's a populist right idea. And the populist right said, vote, if you don't vote for this, you're not. We'd say that sometimes, if you don't vote for this, you're unpatriotic. Perfectly fine with that. They say it on the left too. They say, if you don't vote for this, you're not you're not American. You're not this. You're this. You don't vote for. If you vote for that, you're a bigot. You're a racist. That's where the left goes. The right, on the other hand, doesn't use that type of language. They basically say, yeah, okay, fine. You know what? You're not a patriot if you don't agree with this. Perfectly fine to say. But Flavia needs to understand that it is the rights. She talks about the rights of the individual, but then she brings it into the collective, into the whole country. And where is that country? Where's sovereignty? And I don't think she really believes in sovereignty, or she doesn't understand what the word sovereignty really means and what being sovereign means to a nation. Nation first, everybody else second, third, fourth, and fifth.
I buy into that game. I think we need to defend it. We have to do it. We cannot think that institutions just fall from the sky and that they're untouchable, they will never change. That's not the case. I'm very well aware. That's why I claim active citizenship and I ask people to engage, and I also live it and want to represent this. And here, just one last point, about Brexit and Brexiteers. I would say, Douglas, and maybe I'm very provocative about it, but I want to challenge that everyone who voted for Brexit for the very same reasons that you did.
Absolutely,
I don't think you
did.
can
Yes,
speak for
you
all
have
the
no
Brits that you would call the majority.
I don't claim to. I simply refer to the opinion polls that prove what I just said, which is that sovereignty was the fundamental issue that united the British people on the 2016 Brexit vote, and that it shouldn't be dismissed, that it should be understood. There is always a remarkable thing in political science, that people are the thing that they accuse other people of. I've heard tonight nothing but an endless set of claims about what Europeans should be. and they all seem to have to be like Flavia, otherwise they are right-wing populists. This claim that this is exactly what the right-wing populists do is precisely what you have spent the evening doing yourself, which is to say anyone who doesn't agree with me is not in touch with the deep people of Europe.
Good.
I don't think that's a reasonable way to go forward.
So, Douglas, I'm really sorry. I'll suggest that we quit the insulting game for now.
No, I wasn't at all insulting. I was simply making a point against an error by my opponent.
And can I just clarify that I came
Last
here
point,
invited?
Flavia, and then we go to the audience.
I was invited here for a debate, and as much as I know about debates is that each of the debaters prepares a speech. I did it. You didn't. I was expecting your view to be presented this way, so I prepared myself this way. So I'm still hoping I can hear more.
In order to hear more, we will go to the audience. I see one question over there, one over here. So we have two ones, right? And then we wrap up. Yes.
First off, thank you to both the speakers and the mediator. I really enjoyed the debate.
Well, it looks like they're going to go to questions, so we'll end it here, and we'll have that as part 9 of our series here for the debate between Flavia Kleiner and Douglas Murray. But once again, like Douglas said, this is exactly, I did not hear anything in terms of Douglas basically saying that you're a leftist, socialist, Marxist, Democrat. I am using those terminologies to describe her. And if I was in a debate, that's exactly the words that I would use. But I would not say offhand that everybody that speaks that way is evil incarnate or whatever, or that they're, rising Marxists or rising, I don't know, whatever, the way that Flavia talks about rising populists. The fact of the matter is that there is a completely difference of opinion from those that have the thinking of Flavia, who look at a globalist mentality. They're looking at the whole world is basically open to everybody. There should literally be no boundaries. There should literally be no countries. Europe is fine, but you know what? Not really, because Europe doesn't really associate itself with Africa, or Europe doesn't really associate it with the Mideast, or Europe doesn't, do things that are going to help other countries or whatever. And they're not inviting enough. They're not helping enough. It's just Europe by itself. They just want to stay Europe. They just want to stay. And the whole thing stems is it's all down to either money or race, folks. That's what this boils down to with the politics of Flavia. They inject the money into it. They inject the race into it, ethnicity, demographics, bigotry, all that stuff is what they do. But her big thing is, you've got to be open to the whole world. But she talks about the individual, but if the whole world thing in openness is going to affect the individual, that's perfectly fine as long as the policies are leftist, socialist, Marxist. Now, that's what a society wants it to be. If that's what a country within it wants to be, that's the way they vote, so be it. But that's not what's happening. And what he was talking about, Douglas Murray, was with that Brexit vote and everything, the people within the United Kingdom in Britain said, you know what, we want to be sovereign. We want to be ruled by people that we can elect and that we can unelect. We don't want to be ruled and given policies and laws and rules and commandments by people that are outside of our nation, that are basically giving us edicts and laws, and they don't have a single clue as to what it means to be British or to be a part of the United Kingdom. They're doing these things to be part of a global community. And we want England, we want the United Kingdom first and foremost for its own citizens. Then we worry about everybody else. Anyways, we appreciate you taking the time to watch. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our channel, hit that notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Let us know in the comments below what you think. My final thought is, when you're right, you're right. And when you're left, you're wrong. We'll see you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.